We are back talking baseball again here on the Papa Nose podcast as John Mozeliac opens up about a possible free agent signing. The Cardinals dropped their City Connect jerseys finally, and just a wild week in general in baseball as both Missouri teams look to have a good week, and the Cardinals really have turned it around this past week. So if you enjoy the podcast, if you're enjoying the baseball content, make sure you smash that like button, follow along, leave a comment. Hit the subscribe button over on YouTube, the follow button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and stay tuned with the Papa Nose podcast. Again, told you I was going to try to get into baseball a little bit more this year. Kind of wrote some articles the last couple of years, baseball-wise. I guess last year, really leading up to the season, start of the season. So we're trying to stay on it this year, trying to be more proactive on the baseball front. Had Bryce on last week to talk some baseball as well. So, again, appreciate if you are following along and watching or listening wherever you may be watching or listening from. So, let's get straight into it. And I'm going to go ahead and start with just this last week. St. Louis Cardinals have the offense has turned it around completely. They finally get a win against the Brewers in a 4-game series. And that was last Sunday that they finally got the win over the Brewers in Milwaukee, headed to Anaheim to meet the Angels out in L.A., which I was supposed to go to one of those games, didn't end up working out, but that's neither here nor there. Would have been a good time. I'm glad I didn't end up going on Wednesday because they got bounced 7-2. But the offense, 10 runs on Monday night, 7 runs on Tuesday night. Of course, only 2 runs in the loss on Wednesday night. But against Boston, another series, 10 runs on Friday night, 7 runs on Saturday night, only 3 runs in the loss. And then last night, as I'm recording this on Tuesday morning, the 21st, Monday night, 6 runs. Michael Ciani, the huge home run. And it's been absolutely awesome to see the Cardinals finally be able to kind of wake up and be able to score some runs. And you would have thought that's what this team was going to be with the likes of Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Gorman. You got some sluggers on this team, as well as Wilson Contreras, obviously out right now. Me and Bryce talked about that about a little bit last week. This Saturday night against the Cubs, as they come into St. Louis, that'll be the debut of the City Connects on Saturday, which is interesting because obviously normally the Cardinals wear the St. Louis, the kind of cream-colored off-white jerseys on Saturdays, so we'll see how that goes moving forward. They obviously haven't been able to have the, the baby blues. I don't think that we've seen it all this year, and that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day, how Fanatics has absolutely dropped the ball with the uniforms this year. They've looked terrible, and anyways, let's not even get into that, but this last week has been huge for the Cardinals, and hopefully going to turn it around, and we'll see the Cardinals kind of pick it up from here. And obviously that's what you'd like to see. But Sonny Gray last night, another good performance. I think it was 5 2/3 he put in last night. Ended up taking him out of the game with runners on first and second. 5 2/3. Double play would have got him out of the 6th inning. Jojo Romero comes in. Jojo Romero's pitching lights out right now. 24 2/3, 1.46 ERA. Absolutely, killing it out of the pen for the Cardinals. And Sonny Gray as well. 2.87 ERA. I mean, he's having an absolutely wonderful season so far, and exactly what you want to see for the guy that you spent. I can't remember if it was 30, 40 mil, something like that. But you went out and spent big money on a number 1 starter, and that's what you're getting right now out of Sonny Gray, which is awesome to see because the rest of the rotation is just not looking great. Steve Matz is obviously out right now, injured, and I mean, he was 6.18 ERA at this point, 27 2/3 in 6 starts. Sonny Gray's seen a couple of more starts. Then you got Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn. They're kind of giving you the same thing, right around a little over 4 ERA. Both of them 9 starts. Kyle Gibson 3-2, Lance Lynn 1-2. Kyle Gibson, man, the only Cardinals game that I've been to this year, I went to St. Louis to see them play the Marlins on that Sunday where Kyle Gibson gave up 6 runs in the opening inning. So I am still kind of trying to warm up to Kyle Gibson after that was the first time I saw him pitch. Ryan Helsley doing his thing out of the bullpen as he does. 14 saves already here in the first couple months of the season. 1.29 ERA coming out of the pen. And he has given the Cardinals 21 innings out of the bullpen. And again, you just need to see this offense turn it around. If this offense can turn it around, I think the pitching can be good enough. Obviously, you're going to have your nights. I mean, last Friday night, they gave up 11 runs to the Brewers. They gave up 5 to the Angels in a game that they won, 7 to the Angels in the game they lost. They gave up 11 to the Red Sox in the game that they lost on Sunday. So we'll see, how it goes from here. But if the offense, they're going to win a lot more games than they lose. You look at back on May 6th, the 4-3 loss to the Mets. That whole series against the White Sox. Gave up 3 runs. Or no, excuse me, that was a win. But gave up 5 runs in the loss to the White Sox. Only scored a run. Total in the entire series against the White Sox, the Cardinals scored 9 runs in 3 games. It's just not going to cut it. The first day of May, 1 run against the Tigers on the road. Lose 4-1. So the Cardinals have to turn it around. The Brewers series in 4 games, looking at it, they scored 10 runs in 4 games against the Brewers. The offense has to be better. They have to step up. They have to start hitting like we know that they can. Alec Burleson, huge game in L.A. against the Angels. Had that big home run. Had another big home run against the Red Sox. If you can have some of these guys that are rotational players that can step up, but you also have to have your stars consistently playing well, this team can be a borderline playoff team. I mean, this is a team that going into last year, if you would have asked me, a team that should be contending for a World Series. Now, I think that with your lack of experience at manager in Ollie Marmol, it's going to take a lot at this point for me to warm up to Ollie. And I think most of Cardinals Nation would agree with me. You've also got John Mozeliac that in the last few years is just, the track record looks really, really bad. You traded Adolis Garcia for cash considerations. It's not looking good. In the lead up to the season, no offers for Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery is not even spoken to from what I've seen and read by the Cardinals. The Cardinals should have easily reached out to Jordan Montgomery and tried to bring him back onto the team. And so that leads to the next thing that we saw over the weekend, and this might have been yesterday that this was put out. John Mozeliac comes out in an interview and is asked about Trevor Bauer, which I've heard rumors and seen headlines. He's been linked possibly to come to St. Louis. John Mozeliac says, "I don't want to make it look like I'm so desperate." What do you mean? This is desperation time, especially for a general manager that has been atrocious for the last at least 5 years, 5-6 years around in there. The trade for Marcell Ozuna. I looked into that the other day, and the trade for Marcell Ozuna is worse than I even thought. Sandy Alcantara was obviously traded for Marcell Ozuna, right? You know who else was involved in that trade? Starting pitcher Zach Gallen started the All-Star game last year for the Diamondbacks. Helped lead them to a World Series last year. Randy Arozarena traded to Tampa Bay for Matt Liberatore. And me personally, I like Liberatore. Libby's been solid, and, hopefully he can grow into, the pitcher the Cardinals want him to be. Well, I won't even say what the Cardinals want him to be, but at least a guy that can come in and eat up some innings. And, even this year, he hasn't been great. It's kind of been a struggle with Liberatore, since he's made it to the big league level. 16 games, 3 starts, 26 2/3, 5.40 ERA. And I'm looking up right now to see what year this trade was made. Obviously, you have some great trades in there. Acquiring Paul Goldschmidt for next to nothing. Acquiring Nolan Arenado for next to nothing. And the fact that the Rockies paid to have Nolan Arenado. Acquiring Jordan Montgomery. Not a terrible trade. You had to give up Harrison Bader. At the time, I didn't like the trade. Jojo Romero, starting to look really good. Of course, he was traded for Edmundo Sosa. That was back in 2022, both of these trades that I'm talking about. Also in 2022, you acquired Jose Quintana. And so far, Johan Oviedo, I mean, he's been solid. And I didn't love that at the time, but, they were trying to make a push. But in 2020, this is 2020. So in 2019 and 2020, two of the most detrimental trades to this Cardinals organization that maybe of all time, honestly. 2019, Adolis Garcia to Texas for cash considerations. Nothing in return. Then you turn around and days later, so that was December 21st, 2019, the Adolis Garcia trade. January 9th, 2020, the Cardinals acquire Matt Liberatore and Edgardo Rodriguez, a catcher from the Tampa Bay Rays, for outfielder Randy Arozarena and first base / outfielder Jose Martinez. It was two of the worst trades in Cardinals history. So, with Mozeliac coming out and saying, I don't want to look desperate, and the rest of the quote was something of, I don't want to look so, I don't want to make it look so desperate that we're going to compromise morals to make a signing. Here's the full comment. I just don't know if that would be good for this community, good for our team, and I don't want to make it look like I'm so desperate to have to win that I'd do something that would fly in the face of our moral compass. It's desperation time in St. Louis for these Cardinals. Absolute desperation time. I honestly, at this point, don't even understand that comment almost. Out of last place by 2 games. I mean, I guess 21-26. It's not going to cut it. Finishing in last place last year and being 21-26 right now, which granted, Cardinals are 6-4 in their last 10, and that is the best out of any team in the NL Central right now. The next best is the Pirates and Brewers at 5-5 in their last 10. Brewers have lost 2 in a row. Pirates just won 1. Cardinals are on a 1-game winning streak. Run differential. -46. Meanwhile, at the top of the division, you got the Brewers that are +37 run differential. It's not going to cut it. It's desperation time, John Mozeliac. So, those are the couple of things I really want to talk to. I'm going to get to the City Connects in a minute. We're going to shift gears to the Royals for a moment. Because the Royals just continue. I mean, the Royals have just continued. They sweep the A's over the weekend. They get a win last night against the Tigers. They didn't sweep the Angels, but they won 3 out of 4 against the Angels right before the Cardinals played them. They pick up 1 win in Seattle. I think you'll take that. The Mariners are a very solid team. I'll go back to the standings right now and just see where the Mariners are sitting. First place. I thought they were in first place. First place by 2 games over the Rangers, 26-22. The Royals are 10 games over 500 for the first time since 2015, I think it was. 30-19 the Royals are. And they're still a game and a half out of first place. The Cleveland Guardians are playing out of their mind right now. But just to look at the run differential for the Royals, +60. In comparison to a -46 for the Cardinals. This Royals team is playing their tails off right now. They are first place in the AL wild card. And they are the 3rd best team in the AL. Only the Yankees and Guardians have better records than the Kansas City Royals in the American League. Just happens to be a team in their own division. Puts them, I think, about 5th or 6th best in the league. Phillies and Dodgers in the NL also have better records than the Royals. The Royals are the 5th best team in the league right now. Playing out of their mind. And it's awesome to see. Although I will say, I don't know if I mentioned this with Bryce last week, but I will say the Royals fans get a little out of pocket when the Royals start playing real good. And I am a secondary Royals fan. Just more of a Cardinals fan, obviously, but it's awesome to see that the Royals are picking up the pace and starting to become the team that they should be with Bobby Witt behind them, with a Vinny Pasquantino at first base, with the pitching, the way that it's been, going out and getting Seth Lugo might be the best free agency move that any team made in the offseason. Seth Lugo's been great for the Kansas City Royals. So it's good to see. And I'm very interested to see if the Royals keep it up. Of course, they finish up the series with the Tigers the next couple of days. They go to Tampa Bay next weekend, or this upcoming weekend. Then they go to Minnesota to play the Twins for a 4-game set, and then on into the weekend back in Kansas City against the Padres. So a little bit of a interesting stretch. Just to kind of see the standings on everybody. Rays are 1 game above 500. Padres are right at 500. And then you get the Twins, who, of course, are under the Royals. Twins are 1 game above 500. So that's 3 different series coming up against teams that are over 500 or right at 500. And the Tigers, same thing. They were 500 coming into yesterday, losing to the Royals. They're now 23 and 24. They're 23 and 23, obviously, coming into that game. With the Cardinals, man, they got to do something different with that run differential. It just goes to show how bad this offense has been. And especially when you look at a team like the Dodgers that are plus 87 in run differential. The Yankees are plus 78. Those are the top 2 teams in run differential. Oh, excuse me, the Phillies at plus 80 as well. So you got the Dodgers, Phillies, Yankees. All plus 75 plus runs ahead in run differential. It's tough, man. The Cardinals have to do better on that. And there's still hope for this season. I mean, this season is not over by any stretch of the imagination, because at the end of the day, the Cardinals are only 2.5 games back in the wild card race. They're 6 games back in their own division. The Brewers have been playing very well. But when it comes to the wild card, you have the Braves, Cubs, Padres would all make the playoffs today. The playoffs started today. The Cardinals are 2.5 games out of the wild card. That last wild card spot with the Padres, they're at 500, 25 and 25. And you've got the Cardinals at 21 and 26. The season's not a loss yet, but things have to change right now. It has to start from here, from what the Cardinals did the last week or so. Because now, at this point, you're about 2 months into the season. June, July has to be better. Has to be better to put the Cardinals in a position to think about making the playoffs, to possibly think about trying to make a trade. And at this point, I don't know if I trust John Mozeliac to make any trades at the deadline, and hasn't done it a ton in his time in St. Louis. They don't seem to make very many big acquisitions in the middle of the season. And I mean, really anything of note, 2022 is the last time they really did anything right before the deadline. And then even before that, it was like 2018 when they traded Tommy Pham for Genesis Cabrera, Justin Williams, and Raul Ramirez. And to Tampa Bay. I guess they did move on from Tyler O'Neill last year, but anyways, to make a move to actually compete, when they're making a move to try to compete, Mozeliac doesn't do it a ton. So we'll see where they want to go with that. So last thing for this one, I wanted to get into the City Connects for the Cardinals. And if you ask me, Missouri is winning. Both sides of the state. The Royals have one of the best, and I think top 5, top 3 City Connects. The Royals have an amazing City Connect uniform. The way they incorporated the city's logo into the KC, the fountains, just everything. The dark blue, the powder blue on the dark blue. It just, man, it's great. It is perfect. I think the City Connect for the Royals really embodies what City Connect jerseys are supposed to be. Embodies your city with your uniform and puts it all together in a beautiful way. And I think the Royals City Connects absolutely do that. I think the Cardinals uniforms do that absolutely as well. The only thing I will say about the Cardinals uniforms, about the City Connects, is I almost wish they would have incorporated the arch maybe in the background. I like that they kept the birds on the bat, and it's a red jersey. And I think if you grew up as a Cardinals fan, you always kind of wish the T-shirt jerseys that we all grew up wearing, that were red with the birds on the bat. It was like a regular jersey, but it was a T-shirt and it was red. I mean, if you know what I'm talking about. And I think that we always wished, and a lot of warm-up jerseys, the Cardinals have always worn, where they have the red, jersey on top. I think that everyone's always wanted to see a version of that for the Cardinals to wear as an alternate. The Cardinals are one of those teams that's very, very classically oriented team. Only have, a home and road, white on white, gray on gray, birds on the bat, both home and away. They've incorporated that into a little bit different, of course, with the home jerseys that I talked about a little bit earlier, the kind of cream colored with the piping around the neck and going down the buttons, and it says St. Louis instead of Cardinals on the birds on the bat. And then that same concept flipped to be powder blue for the road alternates. So they have incorporated, a little bit different of uniforms in the last few years. And I kind of wondered if the Cardinals were going to get a City Connect jersey. And they finally did. And the way that they did this jersey, I think, is just awesome. And my favorite part, I think, is the pinstripes. They have these very subtle pinstripes that if you're looking at it from afar, you're not going to see the pinstripes. But when you look at it closely and see these wavy pinstripes that's supposed to represent the Mississippi River, essentially, that flows through St. Louis, it's beautiful. It's perfect. And the Cardinals haven't had pinstripes on their jerseys in 100 years. So to have one that's so subtle that doesn't really change the look a ton, but when you look deeper into it, and that's my favorite, is the little Easter eggs of these City Connect jerseys where you can find. It's a simple birds on the bat, same thing, traditional Cardinals. But instead of Cardinals, it says the Lou in white text in that same, Cardinals font. There's a patch on the left sleeve that has the St. Louis City symbol. Looks like the Saints logo. Obviously very French influenced city, with the arch kind of wrapped around that and an STL in the middle. 1882 on the inside collar, which is of course the year that the Cardinals were brought into what became a baseball team. It is the first time, I actually didn't know this, I'm reading this right now, but this is the first time that the Cardinals have ever had a regular season red jersey, which again just kind of goes back to what I was saying as a kid growing up. I think we always wanted to see a red jersey from the Cardinals. That was always a cool thought. And I like the simplicity of the pants, just one red stripe down the side of the pants. And then the classic lettering of just STL across the hat. It revives the classic Cardinals font, paying homage to the team from the 1920s with the jersey lettering. The final seasons before the birds on the bat were actually introduced. It also looks similar to the St. Louis Stars, who were originally the St. Louis Giants, the Negro League baseball team. That STL looks similar to the STL they were on their hat. The T was a lot bigger on that, but it just kind of gives those vibes, even though they didn't put anything in there about that. But it also, just the whole rollout. The whole rollout with Nelly. It was funny. Metro Boomin was there, did a concert in Ballpark Village for the Cardinals as well. And I love the post that they made, especially everything that's going on right now with the whole Kendrick and Drake beef. I just thought it was just a funny, coincidence behind all of it, because this has been planned for a while for Metro Boomin to be there for it. But they posted pictures of the concert in Ballpark Village and Metro Boomin's show, and just put the simple caption of Metro Boomin does trust us. I thought that was funny. But the whole rollout with Nelly, it was pretty cool. Had Country Grammar playing in the background as they unveiled it, and it just felt like it's a good time to be a Cardinals fan, I feel. And granted, this is like the separation for me personally, and this is a whole personal thing. I mean, I don't know how many Kansas Cityans are Cardinals fans, but just growing up kind of in the middle of Missouri, and everybody's a Cardinals fan. Everybody was a Rams fan. I remember getting teased as a kid being a Chiefs fan growing up, and of course, the greatest show on turf when I was a kid. Everybody was a Rams fan. I was the only Chiefs fan growing up, but everyone, obviously the Rams moved. Everyone from where I'm from is Chiefs fans now, through and through. The whole state. I mean, I don't know how many people I've met from St. Louis at Chiefs games in the last couple of years, but just the very heavy St. Louis inspired stuff, which I'm just like, none of it's really for me, just because I'm Kansas City. I love the Cardinals, but I love my city. So I do like it, though. It's a cool time to be a Cardinals fan, and I'm sure, anybody from St. Louis, grew up in St. Louis, all that stuff, the Lou with the jersey, the STL on the hat, all of that stuff was great. The rollout was great. It was perfect, and I do think the Cardinals have one of the better City Connects now coming out, and I saw a lot of people kind of saying, oh, it's too simple, they didn't do enough with it, and I like that aspect of it, though. And also, that's another thing growing up, Chiefs and Cardinals fan. I love the simplistic jerseys. I love it. I love that old school, the Chiefs have had two jersey combinations essentially to work with their entire, you have the red on white, you have the white on red, white on white, red on red. That's it from the Chiefs. That's it. The Cardinals have always had the birds on the bat. The home whites, the road grays. That's it. The powder blues back in the 80s, and they've revived that, but very simplistic. I love that old school simplistic jersey style. It just looks nice. It's clean. And I think these jerseys are nice. They're clean. And, because some of these City Connects that have come out are just, the original Rockies ones with the green pants, disgusting. So some of these, very hit and miss on the City Connects. But I do like what MLB's doing with the City Connects and really, trying to make baseball fun. And I think the Cardinals did that through and through this week with the Nelly rollout, the Metro Boomin show, the City Connects, the simplistic vibes to it. I think it's perfect. So let me know what you think in the comments below about the Cardinals' new City Connects. Let me know what you think about the Royals City Connects, too, because I think, again, that's like a top 3 or 5 City Connect, I think, that they've dropped. And I do want to go through with Bryce at some point, bring him back on the show, talk to him, and have us go over, kind of just where we rank all the City Connects and kind of go over that. But until next time, we'll get into some more baseball as well. I've been enjoying this and just being more, in tune with the game of baseball that I just have not been in the last really 10 or so years. Other than, just in tune with Cardinals the last couple of years, and last year, obviously, with the way things went, I was kind of out by probably about this time last year. So I'm trying really hard to stay in, trying to watch as much as I can, and, just be in tune with baseball again. So I appreciate it. And if you like this, make sure you smash that like button. It really helps the channel. Leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, comment in the section below on YouTube or Spotify. And, until next time, we'll see you.